Hello everyone, welcome to From the Star Wars Home Video Library. I'm your host Nathan P. Butler. Finally, in this episode, we get to wrap up our UK coverage from Rise of Skywalker and Skywalker Saga. For the most part, there's a couple of those Sky Store buy and keep versions of the Blu-ray and DVD that will be slowly making their way here to me from the UK. Those are kind of an oddball thing. They're not regular retail, so we'll hold those for another time. We've already looked at the UK releases of Rise of Skywalker. Now, finally, the last of the Skywalker Saga sets finally made its way to me from Zavvi after being stuck in customs hell in New York for weeks. So, we're going to take a look at those, and in our next episode, we'll take a look at the first couple of Australian items that have finally made their way to me while we wait for the other three to wind up showing up. Thankfully, we were going to do those as two different groups of episodes anyway, or two different episodes at least, two different groups in episodes of their own. So, we're taking a look here at the UK Skywalker Saga boxed sets, and the key here is it is plural. There were three. This is the biggest one. Now, in the UK, this was exclusive to Amazon. In the US, our equivalent of this was exclusive to Best Buy. And you may recall that in the US, this was our J card going over the top of it. And unfortunately, the way they put this on was with pressure-sensitive adhesive, as my friend Jerry Stevens from Republic Forces Radio Network pointed out. It was held on by pressure-sensitive adhesive with some glue, some booger glue, underneath. So over here on the US version, this is the UK one, over here on the US versions, for a lot of people, there's a blemish because of the way they held on the J card before they put it in shrink wrap. Whereas the UK version has its J card, but as is typical for UK releases, it's a little bit more elaborate and includes a side here, which means it didn't have to be held on quite the same way. The blemish will not appear on this one. So, this is a 4K Ultra HD version. Notice underneath there, 4K Ultra HD, Blu-ray, and bonus. There is no digital copy. That is not a thing in the UK typically. The Skywalker Saga 9-movie collection. One complete set for the first time. Includes 27 discs and an exclusive letter from Mark Hamill. And you have your UK and Irish ratings there. Product number, UK and Irish ratings, and then Ultra HD Blu-ray. There is no other side to this. Star Wars up at the top. The back looks a lot like the US version of the back. The Skywalker Saga Collector's Edition. Collectible outer case, collectible book, 27 discs, includes 4K UHD, Blu-ray, and bonus discs for each film. Exclusive letter from Mark Hamill. One complete set for the first time. From young Anakin Skywalker's descent to the dark side, to the rise of the Resistance and their struggle to restore peace in the galaxy, the story of a generation comes to a riveting conclusion. The saga will end, the story lives forever. Cast crew information, copy protection, Dolby Atmos, Dolby Audio, Ultra HD Blu-ray, I always forget the name of this thing, the Video Packaging Review Committee, Lucasfilm, ratings, legalese, UPC, specifications, lots more symbols like region-free, DTS HD, blah, 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 right? So very similar to the US, just with the changes you would expect from something coming out of the UK. The actual set itself, you can't tell the difference from the US version just by looking at it. It is a couple of millimeters, maybe, 1/16 of an inch, maybe. Taller, it seems, this way than the US version is, but otherwise indistinguishable. I did find that mine lines up better with the Death Star here than the one from the US. Excuse me, my voice is starting to go. I'm trying to get through these episodes so I have some stuff to actually put out within the next few weeks here. But my voice is definitely going. So, this is going to work the same as the US one, right? Star Wars, the Skywalker Saga. It will open up to either side. Inside is our album, if you want to call it that. There's the album. Inside that, at least when you first open it up, I'll keep it underneath from here on, we have our letter from Mark Hamill. Okay? Same old letter. Nothing different or anything like that. And then the album is going to essentially be the same as in the US. We've looked at this before. We don't need to spend a lot of time looking at it here. The key difference being, of course, that the discs themselves will have your traditional UK labeling on them, so we will just look at one right there. So they've changed the bottom so that now it's title, Lucasfilm feature film, 4K Ultra HD, ratings, the Ultra HD Blu-ray there, underneath your product number and 2020 and trademark Lucasfilm down there on the bottom. The regular Blu-ray, title, Blu-ray disc, Lucasfilm, feature film, ratings, all region, copyright, and whatnot below. And of course, every film has a bonus disc as well. We'll just grab a random one here. Hey, it's nope, Revenge of the Sith this time. We got title, ratings, Blu-ray, Lucasfilm bonus, region free, and the copyright information down on the bottom of this one. There is a product number off here to the side on these. I always tend to miss that piece. So essentially what you got in this set is basically what you got in the regular set from the US. Your discs are going to have the labels on them for the ratings for the UK, so in that sense they don't look quite the same as the US version. And there's no digital copy to go with it. But from the physical standpoint, these are the 4K copies of the 2019 cuts from Disney+. These are Blu-ray copies of those same cuts, and they are the bonus discs to go with it. Now in the UK, this was the way to get all these 4K copies. The UK did not get individual 4K releases of all of the older films. So this was kind of a special thing, and again, it was an Amazon UK exclusive. So the most fancy way to get it, but not the only way to get it, but certainly the thing for folks who were into 4K films. I would note, by the way, that when I say it's the same as the discs that are in the US version, that does include the updates, for instance, to the labels for things like Episode 7, Episode 8. It does mean that the Episode 8 discs are updated so that there's the score-only version of the film available on the Blu-ray film disc, and Meet the Porgs is on the bonus disc for Last Jedi, whereas for Episode 7, yes, it's basically the discs that you got for Blu-ray in the 3D Collector's Edition, except new labels and new menus. So literally basically the same thing we got from the US, just with different labels on them. And of course you're going to have slightly different language options included on that as well. Those language options, boy, there's a lot of them. But you've got, for instance, English, German, French, Italian. You've got subtitles in Finnish, German, Italian, Norwegian, Swedish, French. Most of them being similar as far as the language options. We're not going to go into that for each disc. But let's say you're in the UK and you didn't want to buy that giant set, or maybe you don't have a 4K TV or player yet. You just wanted Blu-ray. Well, over here, that is not an option. Over here in the US, if you want to buy a Blu-ray and digital copy code copy of any of the films in that black packaging, those were released back in September 2019, and it's the 2011 cuts of the films on them, not the 2019 cuts. The way to get the updated Blu-ray copies in the US is to buy the new Ultimate Collector's Editions that are neither Ultimate nor Collector's Editions that have the 4K disc that you wouldn't use, plus the 2 Blu-ray discs. Or you could wind up instead buying the giant Skywalker Saga box set at Best Buy. There is no Blu-ray only Skywalker Saga box set available in the US that would have the updated film and bonus discs for all 9 of those films by themselves without any 4K discs that you may not use. In the UK, that option did exist, and it's been heavily imported into the US as well. That is this. Star Wars, The Skywalker Saga. Death Star? Death Star? We got Death Star. Nothing but Lucasfilm there. Bottom there, essentially blank. Top, Star Wars, The Skywalker Saga. Okay? It reminds me of sort of a fancier, new age version of the old brick box sets from the US in 1990 and 1992 from CBS, Fox Video, and Fox Video, respectively, for the original trilogy. So this part is a front flap. Unfortunately, the sides do feel a little flimsy, but this front part is a flap that's going to come down. This top is a lid that's going to fold this way. So you'll notice when I open the lid, they both move. Okay, so the top now just has Star Wars there. This bottom piece, this is where you find this edition's version of the letter from Lucas, although the line spacing seems to be a little bit weird because they've narrowed it to fit on here. And then, kind of like the Japanese giant set, you have albums for each trilogy in here. Okay, so we have Blu-ray, Lucasfilm, Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga, and Roman numeral 1, because this is the prequels. Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga, The Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, Revenge of the Sith. Nothing on this side. We already looked at that side. We just looked at it from a different angle. The back, Roman numeral 1, Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga, Lucasfilm. Over here is going to be, I guess, a product number, and then there's going to be copyright. Open it once. Logos for each film. Open it again. There's those 3 films. Blu-ray film discs on top. Blu-ray bonus discs on bottom. No 4K. This is not a 4K set. No digital codes either. Again, that's not a thing. Okay? So, with a star field behind it, there's your nice sort of album there for the prequels. And it's the same thing, marked as 2, for the original trilogy. This time with classic logos there. Okay? And then the sequel trilogy. Okay. This time back to those similar style logos. Okay? And notice, Blu-ray discs there for Last Jedi are updated, as are the ones for all the other films. They're the ones that are in that giant set, minus the 4K discs. And then the packaging itself is just a couple of walls, Starfield, the letter that folds up, and then that folds down over the top of it. I must say, I really, really like this design. It's got the nice albums for each of the trilogies. It's easy to get the film discs out. They're not slid into cardboard, digibook type stuff or anything like that, like they are on the giant sets. It's got the letter included. It's just a nice setup, and it's relatively concise, or compact, I guess is the word I'm looking for. It's relatively compact, so it fits nicely on a shelf along with any number of your old, VHS bricks and whatnot for earlier trilogy sets. So I gotta say, this is probably my favorite of the UK Skywalker Saga box sets. Not to say that there's anything wrong with that Amazon UK one, it's just that that one's the same as the one from the US from Best Buy, just about. So it doesn't, strike me as, ooh, that's cool. This one, very nice. It's too bad there's not a 4K option for this, because this is a really nice setup there. Again, a little flimsy, gotta be a little careful with it, but nice for what it is. So in the US, we got the big Best Buy boxed set, and individual releases, but no Blu-ray boxed set. In the US also, we might recall, there were no DVD releases for these films, at least in this current wave, with the exception of Rise of Skywalker, because it just hadn't had a DVD release yet at all, and it got its regular individual DVD release like any of the films would have. If you go back in the US and you look for those black packaging releases, they were from September 2019. They're the 2011 cuts, not the 2019 cuts. And for those who aren't quite sure what I mean, the 2011 cuts are the ones that made their debut in 2011 on Blu-ray in the complete saga and those trilogy sets. They were reused over and over and over again, and eventually downgraded to be able to be released starting in 2013 as DVD copies. When I talk about the 2019 cuts, I'm talking Disney Plus. I'm talking McClunky. So in essence, you have these special editions from 1997, right? So you got the original version, but then you get the special editions from 97. You have the more special editions from 2004, the even more special editions from 2011, and now we have the even more special McClunky editions here from 2019. That's the names I tend to jokingly give to them within a Saga on home video. Not to mention the even more special Foxless edition for All But a New Hope when they made their digital debut with the truncated fanfare. But that was it. The US, you got your 4K copies. You got your Blu-ray copies. You want a DVD copy? There isn't one of the McClunky edition. There isn't one of this newest cut. You only had 4K and Blu-ray and digital as options. Not so in the UK. Just because the UK doesn't tend to include DVD with Blu-ray doesn't mean they've entirely given up on DVD. Because they had a third Skywalker Saga box set. Star Wars, the Skywalker Saga. Over here, Lucasfilm, very faint. Star Wars, the Skywalker Saga, DVD video. The back, Lucasfilm, product number, copyright there. Empty bottom. Top, Star Wars, the Skywalker Saga. This has its own album inside, similar to the albums, plural, that we see in the Blu-ray set, but this is one for everything. Star Wars, the Skywalker Saga lists all the films divided up by trilogy. Lucasfilm, Star Wars, the Skywalker Saga, DVD video. Star Wars, the Skywalker Saga, Lucasfilm, product number, and copyright. And as you would expect, you open it up. Then you open it up. There's your letter from Hamill. There's your DVD versions of all 9 films. Though why they've got it set up in such a way that basically you don't use the backs is kind of beyond me. I guess it's just because of the way that the plastic is formed, it might not be as sturdy. But you'll notice that these, let's just get an example here. Check out the disc there. DVD copy, logo at the top. Okay. 2020 copyright date. These are the 2019 Disney Plus versions on DVD, complete with McClunky, complete with new menus to match all the other menus that match also the Blu-ray and so on when it comes to the menus. Re-authored, new cut for the first time on DVD that does not exist on DVD in the United States. Now, what's interesting also about these is their region. You notice here, just as an example, we have the logo, DVD video, Lucasfilm feature film, product number, copyright, ratings. Region 0, as we saw with Rise of Skywalker here. Now, the thing about that Region 0 is whether it's going to be useful to you in the US, whether you could say, hey, I don't have a DVD set of the new cuts in the US, so I want to get this DVD set from the UK so that I've got it. Whether that is a viable option for you to actually watch the films depends on how you're watching them. Because these are Region 0. But remember, this is DVD. This is standard definition. It was only once we got to high definition and ultra high definition that NTSC and PAL stopped mattering. Or in CCAM, technically. So what you've got here are Region 0, which will play in players across the world. But they're PAL, not NTSC. So for instance, I can put this disc into the Blu-ray player in my son's room. And the fact that it's PAL keeps it from playing. Because in the US, we use NTSC for standard definition stuff. On the other hand, if I put it on my computer and play it, it plays just fine. Okay? So it's really going to depend on where you're playing it. Do you have something that plays any region? Doesn't matter. It's Region 0. It can play on any player. But do you have something that can play PAL? If so, you can play this DVD set, and it gives you a chance to get these discs on DVD that don't exist in the United States. Very much like, Revenge of the Sith didn't exist on VHS in the United States. You had to import it if you wanted it in your collection. Same kind of thing happening here, but just like with that Revenge of the Sith VHS, that's PAL, not NTSC. You got to make sure you got a player that can play it. Thankfully, if you're going to watch on computer, it's really not going to matter. But whether your player can handle PAL and NTSC both, or just NTSC, really is going to be what makes the difference here. And as I said, the one I tried it on that locked it out because of PAL, that was a Blu-ray player. So just don't expect it to necessarily be the fact that it's an HD player. Well, it can handle both. Some can, some can't. It's really going to come down to kind of trial and error. That said, of these sets, this is the cheapest of the 3 because it is just DVD, so it may be worth some experimentation, and hey, it still looks cool on the shelf to be able to have that set and be able to say, look, I've got the McClunky editions that actually are on DVD, whereas the US didn't have those at all. So maybe a worthwhile purchase either way. But in the UK, many more options than we had over here, and I actually really kind of like the packaging that they went with, and the fact that their big set had this kind of J-card and don't have the booger splotch all over them. Which also was very nice. So UK definitely wins this round in terms of variety of packaging for these. I still think that that set right there from Japan is the nicer of the big sets to see. But when it comes to variety and the fact that a lot of folks are just wanting these on Blu-ray, not in 4K, so they could get this from the UK definitely comes out as far as being the most consumer-friendly of the options we've seen so far. With that, we'll wrap up this episode. Thank you for watching, and may the Force be with the home video viewers.